Okay, important acronyms and definitions. COB, that's just an acronym I came up with for competitive one bid. IDV, so now we're getting into FPDS NG terms, and some people do confuse these. So an IDV, I'm sure everybody knows this, but just to go through this, indefinite delivery vehicle, and that includes 5 types of awards in FPDS NG: BOAs, BPAs, IDCs, FSSs, and GWACs. So IDC and IDV are not interchangeable in FPDS NG. Okay, what's an IDC? Indefinite delivery contract, and you can get subset of those. So an IDC is a subset of an IDV. Then these are the breakouts of an IDC. You can have an indefinite delivery requirements. You can have an IDIQ, which is the most common one. And you can also have an indefinite delivery, definite quantity. So there are different types of IDCs, and then an IDC is a subpart of an IDV. Contract action report, CAR. That's a combination of an award and a mod. So just to jump ahead here, let's grab. So if I want to look at this PID in FPDS NG, so I'm looking at one PID, one award here, and I'm looking at 2 CARs, contract action reports, the mod 0 and the PU 1. These are also known as transactions. So a CAR and a transaction are synonyms. Version 1.4.5 and earlier documents. These are CARs, I'm going to say created / updated. Certainly, if you both created it and updated it before 10/1/2017, it's going to be a version 1.4.5 or earlier document. That's the version of FPDS NG that was in effect at that time. Now when you create a CAR, it's going to be version 1.5. And there, as you know, there have been a lot of changes going from 1.4.5 to version 1.5, which is part of the problem that we're going to see today that caused the issue we're going to look at today. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to jump in with comments. I'm keeping an eye on the questions. So, okay, how do you calculate the one bid rate in FPDS NG? Did I go over what the one bid rate is? Well, we are going to do it here. As an overview, and we're going to go through this, run the competitive procedures but one offer report in FPDS NG standard reports, and then copy out the competed dollars value. This is going to be the numerator. It's on top of the divisor, top of the ratio. And then you run the competition report and copy out the competed dollars value from that. That's the denominator. The competitive one bid rate is the competed dollars from step number 1 divided by the competed dollars from step number 2. To go a bit more into the definition, so what are they trying to get at? They're trying to, they being FPDS NG, the concept behind this is they're trying to see, okay, what are the dollars associated with awards that you did compete, you did put out there for and solicit multiple offers from, but as it turned out, only one vendor responded. The lower the competitive one bid rate, the better, obviously. Now there are some awards that are excluded. Those are awards where the other than full and open competition value is less than the micro purchase threshold. So, you know, micro purchases, you know, as categorized by this field, are thrown out. And they also throw out version 1.5 and 1.5, version 1.4 BOAs and Part 13 BPAs. Let's just say they throw out BOAs and Part 13 BPAs. Not terribly significant because why? I'll throw that out as a question to the group. Someone have a comment? Maybe, how about a chat? Why would BOAs not be significant? Can everybody see that chat? Maybe someone could respond. No comments out there? Okay. The reason why BOAs and Part 13 BPAs, it's not significant whether you include them or exclude them. And that's because when I say these competed dollars, we're talking about obligated dollars. And it's just not a lot of, there's a lot of base and all options value on these types of awards, maybe. But there's typically very, very, very little money obligated on the BOA IDV or the BPA IDV. The money is obligated on the orders and calls, as you know, and then that is what gets picked up in the one bid rate. Let's take a look at how you would calculate it in FPDS NG. So I will log into FPDS NG, and I do, actually now would be a good time. I will send this to you as well. I did create a document here that you can get on your handouts. If you see the handouts here on your GoToWebinar control, you can download it now. But this gives you a step-by-step with screenshots on how you would calculate your agency's one bid rate using the FPDS NG tools. See, I got a question here. Not competed, only on calls. Okay. Candy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you elaborate on your question there or comment?
I was trying to respond to your question.
I see.
Was thinking that BOAs don't show competition, I don't think, so that's why it wouldn't be significant.
Okay. I'll have to look at that on BOAs, how those are factored into as to whether they're competed.
Yeah, I was only guessing. I thought I was contributing to the conversation. Sorry.
You were. I like people. Participation is great. Okay. Thanks, Candy. Okay. All right. Let's go. So I'm going to log into FPDS NG. Okay. There we go. All right, now who, I know we have, I can tell we have somebody from Interior. I see someone from Treasury. Can someone, if you're not, could someone post a question or a chat as to, if you're not with Interior or Treasury, what department you're with? I always use Interior and Treasury a lot, so I'd like to use a different department as an example. HHS, I think I see too. Labor. Hey, there's a go. Let's do labor. Okay, here I am, FPDS NG. What is labor's one bid rate for FY18? And we'll also look at a bureau within labor. Let's do the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, so I'm going to click on Standard Reports. How? Again, this is all in this document here that you can download, and I'll send you after the webinar. So you don't have to memorize this. All right, first let's get that numerator, which is the obligated dollars associated with awards that were competed, yet only recorded as having received one offer in FPDS NG. So I'm going to click on the competitive procedures but one offer report. I'm going to put in FY18. And I'm going to put in the Department of Labor ID 1600. You could narrow this down further to just your agency if you wanted to, as well as your contracting office ID. So this is getting us the numerator. And I am going to drill down to contracting agency. So here's broken out. There's Bureau of Labor Statistics. No, can't be. And maybe they haven't done that many awards yet this year. Oof, I don't think they're right. We'll do ETA instead. You know, and I'm in Google, and I think when I do this, I'm going to get an error. When I export to CSV, this report in FPDS NG, I think this is going to error out on me. Yep. So my Google Chrome is not working for this. So that's why I say in this document, recommend using Internet Explorer. I got some requests to be sure to send the handout after we're done. I got a good comment here. The new FPDS NG, the new core requires IE10. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. Makes sense from what my experience. Okay, standard reports, how, competitive procedures, but one offer report. And 01, 2017, 09, 30, 2018, 1600. Execute. It's thinking. Left click on the department, right click drill to contracting agency. Now when I export to a CSV, Excel didn't work for me either, but CSV did. Now it's going to work. Okay, so there's my results. So what this represents here is that for all of labor in FY18, they have about $25 million in dollars that were competed awards and that received one offer, and were not those miscellaneous ones where it was a BOA or a Part 13 BPA, whatever. Okay, so I got my numerator. Let's go on top of the division. Okay, so I'm going to close that now. Now I'm going to go over to the competition report right here. So also under how, competition report, and we'll run it for the same dates, 217, 09, 30, 2008, 1600. Execute. left click on labor, right click, drill, contracting agency. And we're going to export that to a CSV file and open it up. Export, CSV, export, open. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy it over to, so now I have this was the result where it was competed awards and only received one offer. This is going to give me all of the competed dollars. And one thing you got to make sure is that it lines up correctly. See, it is out of order. So if you do, if you are going to go through and do some sort of a formula in Excel, make sure, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we sort this by contracting agency name, data, sort, contracting agency. Okay, so now I got that going from high to low alphabetically, and I'll do the same here. Data, sort, contracting agency. So now it's lined up. You can see everything's in the same order. All right, so now for the one bid rate, if I take the dollars associated with awards that only received one offer, and I divide that by the total competed dollars down here, that gives me the one bid rate for labor. Let me just format that to a percentage. So we got 10.9. And I could copy that formula up here, and we could see what it is for different bureaus. Now, OSAM is running a bit high right now. OIG is high, but they don't have a tiny amount of dollars. ETA is coming in on the low side for labor. So this is the one bid rate right here. One bid rate for labor for FY18. Dollars for one bids divided by dollars for competed awards. Competed, I should say, dollars for competed one bids. Yeah, so again, just to reiterate here, a couple points. If the award was not competed, it doesn't affect the one bid rate one way or the other. You could have a gazillion not competed awards with all kinds of money on it. That doesn't drive your one bid rate either up or down. Only competed actions are considered. Okay. One other thing that's you can always take a look at is you can say, okay, what are the calculations and things to be aware, the footnotes of how they're coming up with this metric, they being FPDS NG. You can click on that magnifying glass, and it gives you all of the down and dirty details, which in this case really is not that. It's according to the report appendix, it's supposed to be very straightforward. Just what we did. Okay, how many dollars do you have associated with competed one bids? How many dollars do you have associated with competed awards? Okay, there's your ratio. And the only thing you need to concern yourself with is the exclusions, which is right here. Virtually all reports in FPDS NG have awards they throw out. And this one is no exception, and that's what we already talked about. They're not going to ding you for micro purchases, and they're not going to ding you on BOAs and Part 13 BPAs. They'll ding you on the orders and calls, but not on the IDDs themselves, BOAs and BPAs. Okay. Okay, so we went through how to calculate it. We got through that minor exception. So why are we, it's kind of interesting in and of itself, but the real reason why I needed to have this webinar again is because as part of the Fed data check team, I'm getting calls from Interior for one, and I got a call from another department. Name, it escapes me at this point, saying, hey, what's going on? Your numbers are wildly different, or very significantly different than FPDS NG. So that's what we'll get into next. And the issue is here, unstated in the report appendix, is that FPDS NG recently changed the methodology for their competitive procedures but one offer report. There's an additional exclusion that they're not telling you about. And that is they are now throwing out, for awards that are version 1.4.5 documents, not the latest documents, but the earlier ones. So that would really be FY17 contract action reports and earlier as a general rule. If it was created and updated last touched in FY17 or earlier, that's condition number one, so an older award. And if it's a delivery order that received one offer and referenced a single award IDC, they're excluding it from the competitive procedures but one offer report. Let's take a look at an example there, and it's going to make it clear. I'm going to jump ahead the slide, and we'll take a look at, this is the clearest example here. I'm going to look at this treasury PID. Okay, so I got one award, two PIDs. And this will become clear why I'm doing this in just a second. Move this over here. Okay, so there's the PID, ends in 335. 335. It's referencing. He saw me drill down on it. Okay, now this one, the mod 0 was created on September 29th for the version 1.5 cutover. And if you look down here, I don't see IDV number of offers received. I see the number of offers received one. I don't see IDV offers received. Now let's look at P1. Same award. This one also was created on 9/29. But if I come down to the competition section, it has IDV number of offers received one and blank in the number of offers received. It also has type of set aside source here. This is a version 1.5 document. So it's got a lot of references to a couple additional references to IDVs. It's got the IDV set aside. It's got the IDV number of offers. Let's jump back to the mod 0. It doesn't have any of that. It's got the number of offers and the type of set aside, but it's not showing you the IDV value. That's new for version 1.5. So P1, 1.5 document. This one is a 1.4.5 document. Okay. Let me log into FPDS NG, and we're going to run the competition report, competitive procedures, but only one offer report. Standard reports, how, competitive procedures, but one offer. And I'm really going to zero in on this one. So I'm going to run it just for this date, 9/29. P1 was signed on 9/29. Mod 0 signed on 9/29. So far I should pick up both of those transactions. Department ID is 2000, Treasury. Agency ID is 2041 for both. Here's P1, mod 0, 2041. And the contracting office ID is 2031ZA for P1, 2031ZA, and for mod 0. So there we go. Let's hit execute. I think it's working. There we go. Okay, I got 7 awards. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do award detail. I should see both. And we'll see why. So the PID we're looking at is ZA17F0035. 2031A1F0035. So there's the PID, and I only see one transaction, one contract action report, and it's the P1. So in terms of the competitive procedures, the one offer report, it doesn't list mod 0, but it does list P1. Yeah, we could just verify. So one of the transactions is being counted as a competitive, added to the competitive one bid total. One is not. It is full and open competition on both the order and the referenced IDV. So it is a competed order, and one offer was received. So, you know, logically, that doesn't make sense. Hi, Terry, can you hear me?
I can, Bob. How are you?
Good.
Yeah,
So
we run into it. Well, what I'm saying is up at the top where it says prepared and last date modified. Sometimes we run into this that, yes, it was prepared on the same date that supposedly it was signed, right? But this one looks like FPDS NG admin went in on 11/26 and did something, which means it threw it into another category. It threw it into another time frame, even though that date signed still remains the same. We have this problem occasionally when they're going in doing a mod and they started on a day, say on 9/29, or because that was prior fiscal year. But then once they finish it and they finalize it, say it wasn't finalized until 11/26. Well, they don't go back and change that date. So some of the reports in FPDS NG, some of the reports are pulled by the date signed, not by the date. Even if it was released on 11/26, the CO could have gone in and maybe not changed that date. That sometimes happens.
We did.
So,
yeah.
So the record doesn't jive, basically. You've got one in one quarter or fiscal period, and the other one, it runs into the other fiscal period because it went over into October 1st or whatever date it was. So that could be it. I'm not saying that is, but...
Right. Well, here's why interesting point.
This date was signed on 9/29, right? And that's the base. We call it a base award. You call it a mod 1. Now, here's mod 2. Here's mod 1, right? Well, this wasn't created till 10/20. You see what I'm saying? Right. That wasn't created until after the year. However, the date signed was still in the previous year. They did not go back and change that date, which they should have. That's why one is in and one is not.
Well, in this case, I hear you. That may come into play elsewhere, but they both do have the same sign date. P1 has 9/29. I hear you. But you're saying this is different.
Yeah, well, they prepared it. How can you prepare an NG after the date you signed it? You can't. The NG is prepared and released the same day you sign it.
Well, this is Treasury.
Yeah.
Might not be.
Well, Treasury. Yeah. Well, whenever you sign it, that's when you release it and the NG becomes final that particular day. So in our PRISM system, if they use the PRISM system, the date
Right.
signed can be manually changed when you start or create a document.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
Here's what might, based on our, let's hold that thought on the different dates there in terms of when it was prepared versus when it was signed. So I did point out one difference between the two cars. Mod 0 is a earlier version in FPDS NG. It's a 1.4.5 because it doesn't have those IDV references in the competition section. This is the new version that is referencing IDV. And the other key point is that it's a delivery order, and what it's referencing is a single award IDC. And we could verify that by looking at the referenced IDV. So it is an IDC, indefinite delivery contract, and the key is that it's a single award. So what's going on is those are the awards that the competitive procedures but only one offer report are erroneously throwing out for FY17 and earlier years. What they're doing is they modified the report to only look for cases, if it's a delivery order against a single award IDC, they look for cases where the IDV number of offers is 1. This is what I'm confident is going on. So it'll pick that up in that car because it propagates in on the new version. So this is just a theory of mine as to why they're doing that. But let me stop for a second. Can we all agree that it doesn't make sense that you can't have a situation where if you're counting up competitive one bids, an award is either a competitive one bid or it's not. It can't be that, oh yeah, P1, I only got one offer on P1, but on P3 I got 5 offers. So P1's a one bid, P3 is not. That's whether the competition status on an award is set on mod 0 when it's signed. It doesn't vary from mod to mod. Same thing with the number of offers. So logically, it doesn't make sense what's going on. Hey, what would be an interesting thing is let's go ahead and run the competition report. You saw that it's not the same. Only P1 shows up on the competitive procedures for one offer report. Let's run the competition report, and then we'll see that both of the mods show up then. So the numerator, only the P1 is going to factor into the numerator. And on the denominator, both P1 and the mod 0 is going to factor in. So now we're going to see for that 335 ending PID, if I drill down to award details, just thinking, and I will sort on PID. Okay, so now I'm looking for F00335. F00335, right here. See it? I got the mod 0 and I got the PU1. Both of them referencing 17D001. 17D001. So, Terry, I hear you on those different dates in terms of when this was signed, but meeting expectations, the competition report is picking up both those transactions.
Right, because
the competitive procedure.
Right, the competitions, if you see next to it where the dates are, that's picking up from a date signed effect. That's a different, FPDS NG report pick up from different values in there. So if this one picks up from the date signed, it's going to pick up all the dates signed, even though the release date, if you see on P001, if you go over to where it says 10/20/2017, I can't see up at the top, so I don't know what that is, but I think that's the
effective date.
So there's a difference in you've picked up all these ones that are date signed. So if this report is pulling from date signed, it could be date signed even though the effective date or the actual date that it was released into the system is different.
Okay. Well, the competitive procedures for one offer report, we can.
I mean, but it's still
supposed
pulling.
to
I mean,
use
if
date signed.
Right. If it's date signed, then yeah, but then you're
It's supposed
there.
To.
Right.
Yeah.
However, okay, like you said, if that's going to if it's going to change other reports when you're trying to do it, is it really true data if that was actually not the date that it was actually released? That's the only point I was trying to make, but I might be getting too into the weeds here. So.
Comments are always appreciated, so the more the better. Anyone else have any thoughts, questions? Okay. All right. So let's go back to see where I'm at here. Okay, so we went through how to calculate it in FPDS NG. And we just went through this example, and there are others where the same award in different transactions, one transaction is counted in the one bid report, one isn't. Makes no logical sense. What is going on is inversion for older, in essence, documents prepared, or I'm not even sure that's always the case, but let's just say as a general rule of thumb, if it's a version, if it was created in FY17 or earlier, and if it's a delivery order that only received one offer, or is only recorded as having received one offer, and references a single award IDC, it gets excluded from the competitive procedures but one offer report. Hence, it's going to lower your ratio rate artificially. In FY18, they're going to be counted, but in FY17, they're not. Therefore, the key is you cannot get an accurate trend line. You cannot meaningfully compare your one bid rate in FY17 to your one bid rate in FY18 because the report counts differently, as we just saw. And here's another example if you wanted to go through it on your own. I also went through and I did compared the rate. Incidentally, I'll ask, see if we can do a chat here. Did people see my chat? Name 2 large agency departments. So we're not saying, not the Equal Opportunity Commission. We're talking about a department, what you think, a cabinet level department. And 2 large departments that have the lowest one bid rate for FY18. Can you see that chat, Terry, by the way, or anyone else, when I just typed that in?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what my answer might be.
Yeah. Department of the Air Force. All right. Irma, that's a good one. I'm going to say excluding DOD. I did do DOD. We'll see what, and actually Air Force I didn't break out, so it would be all of DOD. So I got 1 vote for DOD. We'll take a look at what they are. Come on, let's get a couple other guesses. Who has when people compete, when departments compete their awards, who is the least likely to get only one offer in response, or at least as measured in terms of dollars? Terry, come on, put a GSA. All right, I got a GSA vote. NRO, NRO. NRO. Let me see. Irma, what does NRO stand for? IRS or energy, okay. Energy, I think, is a good pick. They're pretty low. Let's take a look. Open. I think I did it this way. Let's see. Yeah, I got to sort this on column G. Data sort, column G, smallest to largest. Housing and urban development, HUD, has a minus 23% one bid rate. They're pretty small. In terms of departments, they're one of the small. How could you ever have a minus competition rate, or how could you also ever have a negative one bid rate? And the answer is you get involved in de-obligations. Really throws a wrench into it. So that's pretty good, but I'm going to exclude them because of their size, and it's de-obligations is making it complicated. One of the really low ones, these are some of the smaller, we said Federal Maritime Commission, SEC, they're not too small. They got a 4.2% rate. State Department is one of the best, 4.8%. So out of every $100 they compete, only $5 is associated with a competed award that only received one offer. Transportation is another one that's very low as measured in FY18. Energy, I think, is a low one. Yeah, energy's down there pretty good, 9.1. What other picks we got? Department of Defense. Defense is not going to be a low one, and I talked to one of the heads of acquisition at Defense. They're not bad, though, actually, when you think about it, 15.9%. Actually, I know that the Air Force struggles with either the one bid rate. I think it's the one bid rate. They have a very high one bid rate or a very high non-competition rate, and that's because as I was out at that base over here on the Potomac River bowling, when they fix their jets, their warplanes, it's McDonnell Douglas or whatever it is, making the F-14 or F-22, the only company that bids on the maintenance contract for that F-22, the only one who's remotely possible of supporting the maintenance contracts are the companies that built the planes. So they end up they can't get good competition on warplane maintenance contracts.
Hey, Bob.
Right. Yeah.
With that being said, why would they even compete it then if they know there's only one person? Why wouldn't they just do it a sole source?
Right. I'm thinking back on the conversation. It was either we showed up the stat and they were like 50%, and I can't remember whether it was not competed or one bid, but that was, he said, oh yeah, I know that. We can't, it's the plane maintenance. So, okay, now one of the interesting things too, if you look at, here's the F-18 rate. The FY18 rate across the government is 14.3, and the FY17 rate is 11.7. So you're seeing a pretty good increase. If you look at if those are just numbers, if that was 14.3, how much bigger is 14.3 than 11.7? That's what, 20%? What is that? Do that times 1.25. It's about a 20% increase so far, looking at or more, going from FY17 to FY18. So if you're just looking at these numbers and you're saying, wow, how come I'm getting a 20 to 25% spike in my one bid rate going from FY17 to FY18. I know that we have interior on here. There's one of the ones who asked me. So there's interior. Wow, they're really spiking up. It's 22%. This is FY18 right here. I'll put that in yellow. Right here. Wow. You know, if I were the senior procurement executive interior, I'm going, why the heck are we getting such this, you know, a 5% thing? That's a 33% increase in one bids. Why aren't our COs and CSs doing better market research? Why aren't they following up with their vendors maybe? Or why, you know, why are they not leaving the solicitation out long enough? Yada, yada, yada.
Would that happen to do with how much money spent last year as opposed to this year as well?
No, it's because of what we just went through.
Yeah,
They're
miscalculating
miscalculating it.
Yeah, we're only first quarter of this fiscal year.
Well, my assertion, if not my statement of fact, is the reason why is that this spike is occurring is because FPDS NG is counting it differently. In FY17, they don't count competitive orders against single award IDCs. In FY18, they are. So it's an illusion. Let's see, Treasury. I think we got Treasury. I know we got Treasury on here. See what happened with them. I mean, it's an apples to oranges comparison. Wow, look at this. You know, Treasury, it's Iris Cooper is pulling her hair out right now. The one bid rate's doubled. Labor. I think labor. We also had someone here from labor. Labor. Wow, another double. It was 16. Oh, wait, actually, labor went down. My mistake. They're going in the other direction. So actually, I don't have an explanation for that. So they're lower in FY18 than they were in FY17. Let's just go back and double check Treasury that I didn't misread that. No, Treasury was the other way. That's the expected one. Higher in FY18, much higher than it is in FY17. Why? Good point. You know, it is, you know, we haven't gone through the full year yet, but what's really driving this is it's two totally, you know, it's two different metrics, apples to oranges comparison. Are you counting delivery orders against single award IDCs or not? What is it? Be consistent. What other department do we have here? Do we have someone else we could check? I looked at labor, and there is one. Labor had an interesting one that's gone down. Anyone here from Commerce? Raise your hand if you're from Commerce. No? Oh, I got someone from Commerce. Let's look at Commerce. Right here. Look at that again. Big spike. That is a, you know, if you look at 20 to 28, that is a 40% spike in the one bid rate. So, you know, I'm getting these panicked, no, I wouldn't say panic, but I'm getting these calls. You know, you can't use it. You can't use the FPDS NG report at this point until they straighten this out. We have questions posted to the Federal Service Desk on this, but let's do I want to do a review and look at one more slide, and then we'll stop and ask questions. But in review, do not use the competitive procedures, but only one offer report for dates that include FY17 and earlier. It's good for FY18. Don't use it for FY17 and earlier. They're throwing out awards that they shouldn't. We have requested clarification from the Federal Service Desk. We have not gotten a response, a meaningful response yet. Treasury and Commerce, as well as myself, have posted questions. So I said don't use it for FY17 and earlier. For whatever you do, don't compare FY17 results to FY18 results. Hey, lastly, we can look at this. Are there other methods to calculate the competitive one-bid rate? And the answer is yes, there is. OMB put out revised instructions for procurement analysts to submit to them that calculates the one-bid rate in a unique manner, in a manner that they were going after, which I think makes more sense than the FPDS NG report, even if it were working properly. And it's they put out a document, which I'll also send to you. It's the final FY17 benchmarking contracting metrics and revised one-bid instructions document. Has anyone ever seen that? It looks like this. It's pretty complicated to go through. I don't know if maybe, has anyone ever seen that, or has anyone ever worked with it? Here it is, refinements for FY17 benchmarking contracts. And then starting on page 4, they go through instructions for computing the one-bid rate. And they go through some pretty complex instructions on how to use FPDS NG to calculate a number different than what we just went through. And what they were getting at was OMB, in addition to excluding those micro purchases and BOAs and BPAs, Part 13 BPAs, OMB said, look, we also want to exclude delivery orders against single award IDVs, essentially exclude delivery orders against any reference contract that was single award. They make an exception for BOAs, but they just throw those out, which makes sense because you're not going to get more than one offer on a delivery order if it references a single award IDV. So they're including a delivery order against a federal supply schedule or an IDC. OMB in their revised instructions says, look, we also want to exclude Part 8 BPA calls if it's against a single award Part 8 BPA. Throw those out. So the result is you get a more, what many people feel, and what I would agree with, is a truer representation of how many times you're going out to compete in an award and you unexpectedly only get one offer. You know, if you're referencing a single award IDV, you know, you're going to get one offer. No way around it. What's unsaid up here is they are including Part 13 BPA calls against single award Part 13 BPAs. So they do keep those in. And OMB also counts mods. We have the FPDS NG methodology, which we just went through, which is in essence, hey, count up your one bids, count up your competed, give me that ratio. We call that the OMB methodology, or you can call that the original FPDS NG methodology. The OMB revised methodology, you throw out, in essence, you want to put a shorthand on it, orders calls against single award IDVs. That's OMB revised. We use one other methodology, we being Fed Data Check. In addition to excluding these awards, we exclude all awards with an obligated amount less than the SAT. If you want to look at it using our questionnaire methodology, we call it. We also exclude all. It doesn't matter whether it's a Part 8 BPA call or Part 13 BPA call. If it's referencing a single award BPA, we throw it out. And we also throw out mods. We only count the initial award. So you got three different methodologies you can look at in Fed Data Check. We can go through that another time. But you can look at the FPDS NG methodology, aka the OMB methodology, which is what we originally went through. You can do the OMB revised methodology, which you throw out a fair number of awards, or you can use the questionnaire methodology, which you throw out a ton of awards. Gee, did I, hopefully I didn't muddy the waters too much, but the bottom, I guess if we go back to this review, again, you can use that competitive procedures, but only one offer report. Use that for FY18. You go back in time, it's been changed and broken. It's broken. That's, people, I'll take a firm stand on that. Don't use it. It's meaningless numbers for FY17 and earlier. I think we went through with that specific example here. We had the same awards, 2 transactions signed on the same day. One's a one bid, one isn't. That doesn't make sense. All right, how to get any questions? Wrap up, and then we'll move over. For those interested, that's the end of the webinar, unless I get a question or a comment. For those who want to talk about CLP, I'll go through that